The third wheel that never was. Lucas and I had been together for almost 7 years, and in every possible way, he was my dream come true. Funny, kind, responsible, and brilliant. But for as long as I could remember, there had always been Audrey. Audrey, his godsister. Audrey, who was as clingy as a burr on a wool coat. Audrey, who believed no, was convinced that one day, Lucas would wake up and realize he'd been in love with her all along. It was ridiculous. I knew Lucas loved me. He had always treated Audrey like a little sister, nothing more. He had watched her grow up, protected her, and kept his promise to her late mother to look after her. But that promise had limits, or so I thought. The night of our engagement party, Lucas and I stood in the glow of fairy lights, soaking in the warmth of family and friends as we shared the news that we were not only getting married, but moving to Canada. The room erupted in cheers. Even Audrey clapped, smiling until she asked, "So when are we moving? I need to figure out when to resign." I laughed, expecting her to be joking. She wasn't. For weeks after that, Audrey acted as if she were part of our future. She researched apartments big enough for 3, talked about job opportunities, and even started looking at flights. I had always been patient with Audrey, but this was too much. One evening, after yet another conversation where she casually mentioned our plans, I turned to Lucas and said, "You need to talk to her now." Lucas, always the peacekeeper, ran a hand through his hair. "Heidi, she's just delusional," I cut in. "And it's not her fault if no one has ever told her the truth. She needs to hear it from you. She is important to us, yes, but not like this. Not the way she wants." He sighed but nodded. The next day, he took Audrey out for coffee and had the talk. She didn't take it well. Tears, accusations, and one dramatic storm out later. Things were tense. But for the first time, the lines were drawn. Lucas had made it clear where his heart was, and soon he and I would start our new life, just the two of us. The aftermath. The weeks leading up to our departure were quiet. Too quiet. Audrey didn't call or text. She didn't show up to family gatherings. She even avoided Lucas's father, which was unheard of. A part of me felt relieved maybe this was the wake-up call she needed to finally move on. But another part of me felt uneasy. "She's hurting," Lucas admitted one evening as we packed. "She'll be fine," I replied, folding a sweater. "She has to grow up sometime." He nodded but looked unconvinced. Then, the night before our flight, there was a knock at our door. I opened it to find Audrey standing there, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. No makeup, no usual bright smile, just tired, puffy eyes. "Can I talk to you?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Lucas looked at me, silently asking if I was okay with this. I squared my shoulders. Sure. We stepped outside, the night air cool against my skin. "I hated you," she said bluntly. I blinked, caught off guard. "I figured," she exhaled, hugging herself. "I thought Lucas was my person. The one who'd never leave me. He's still here for you, Audrey. Just not in the way you wanted." She nodded slowly. "I get that now." Silence stretched between us. Then, in a voice so soft I almost missed it, she said, "I don't know who I am without him." And that was the real problem. It had never been about love. It had been about security, about clinging to the one person who had always been there. "You'll figure it out," I told her. "You have too." She sniffed, wiped her eyes, and for the first time, she really looked at me. "Take care of him, always." She nodded once before walking away, disappearing into the night. The next morning, we boarded our flight to Canada. Just the two of us. And for the first time in a long time, Audrey wasn't in the picture. She had to create her own